NBA Media Day. I think it serves a purpose, but I wouldn't go through it all. I mean, look, I'll admit, I probably see a few things and then go, that annoys me, that annoys me. And then it's like, why does that annoy you? And then I'm like, yeah, I guess this doesn't really annoy me. I mean, I could put together a segment of the 5 most annoying things said at Media Day. Maybe it would do all right, but I'd rather talk quarterbacks to start today's pod. But I have no notes. No notes. I have no notes. I can't fucking wait to see what happens with Harden. I can't wait. I've retired on my Harden position. I still, sometimes I go back and read this piece on Harden's brilliance of spacing. A Houston reporter wrote this thing about how him not doing anything off the ball was actually genius basketball. And I was like, some guys that played with him didn't think it was all that sweet. But he's apparently reporting to Sixers camp. It's in Colorado. I'd want to report to Colorado too. And it's on. I don't, if he had time, the weird thing is like normally when a guy has less time left on his contract, that's the fear factor. She's like, well, if we don't get rid of him now, we're going to lose him for nothing. It's actually the reverse for Harden. Because if he had a bunch of time or he had a bunch of money left on the deal, you'd be like, all right, whatever. Like, I'm just not doing this. And then you get to play chicken with him and be like, how much money are you really willing to lose? And we know one of the new rules in CBA that wasn't like overnight. It was actually a couple of years ago that Bobby Marks has referenced, in that based on what he's doing, like he would lose his free agent rights going into next year. So I can't wait. No one's ever quit as well as he's quit. He's the best. He's the best to ever do it. And he's also not as good anymore. So that's the thing. But if there's one thing that I know is very true, when you're this special at what you do, and Harden was certainly that, and that's the way you carry yourself, it's the way people kind of interact with you, you still think you're going to get away with everything. There's very few people that are really special at something that are the first to go, I probably can't get away with this anymore. You're usually the last person to realize it. And I'm sure his reps, I'm sure the people close to him are telling him he's right. And don't worry, it's all going to work itself out. I just can't wait. I am open to the impossible. I really am. Because here's the other weird thing. How many teams actually want him? So are you demanding something that only you want? At least with Lillard, other teams want him. And look, Lillard's not even in the same, forget boat, ocean as Harden. So this is not a comparison, their journeys, their stories, their predicaments. But can you destroy your own value to a level that the current team has to get rid of you, while also proving that you're worth this money that you feel like you've missed out on, and get it from a team when there may not be a team that exists? There's a mistake that all of us make with the NBA historically. We're like, oh, that'll never happen. Like, he'll probably get moved. There will probably be some version of this. And then if you're Embiid, who clearly, at least for me, I should say it this way, like, I feel like, I don't know if a pass is the right word. Like, oh, how come you? Yeah, there's some players I think have done a better job being professional than other players. But Embiid has the profile now of an MVP winner, which after the NBA Finals, I think people that clearly just didn't watch enough of Jokic were like, oh, wait, maybe these Embiid arguments weren't that strong, right? There's all that stuff. But for him, and I know he'd said yesterday, like, he didn't feel like Milwaukee and Boston had surpassed them. It's like, well, you got to get out of the second round, man. Like, you got to get out of the second round, figure out a way to get out of the second round. And it's going to start getting like it. Luckily, he has Harden there instead of the normal talk show timeline of like, hey, is there something wrong with Embiid? Because look, I just think that there's certain players that don't win in the playoffs, and it doesn't mean that they're incapable of it. It's sometimes their situation. There's other players that I do think are incapable of winning in the playoffs. And it's not so much about their situation, it's about them. But normally Embiid, with this profile, this many years in, this lack of playoff success, you start to become way more of a target. And maybe that does happen to Embiid. And I felt like last year was kind of the year where I was like, this could start getting a little weird for him, at least nationally. But the Harden part of it is the fullback to all that bullshit for Embiid. Harden is taking so much of the negative attention, like he should, that the criticism, we just don't have time for the criticism part of the Sixers issue right now. So I'm open for anything. I don't know what getting his way would be. I don't know that he goes somewhere that's going to win and thinks it's a great idea and wants to invest in it. I think that ship has sailed. It might be a desperate thing. 1 year left in the deal. He makes a push for it, puts up some numbers. He might be better off on a shitty team, put up some numbers, and then hope there's one owner out there that thinks, oh, a 3-year deal and we get to sell Harden jerseys. But I'll tell you what, I'm not buying one for my kid. And I don't even have a kid. I may not have a kid just so I can't have him like Harden buy a jersey.